Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably the best you ever have as well. Check them out at uppercutchops.com. That's uppercutchops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for uppercutchops.com. All right, a big welcome in to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, CBS, NBC Digital, and independent affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there, Hotel TV, as well as there. And also our friends on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites. Get a chance to join the group and talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, it's that time, folks, where the trade rumors and some moves are being anticipated. Why? It's because of the Major League Baseball draft and also the trade deadline's coming up and the All-Star break is coming up. Lots of stuff happening. But when you look at the teams that are in the driver's seat right now, how do they stay in the driver's seat? Starting with the American League East, Tampa sits 4 games ahead of the New York Yankees. And I have to say that Tampa is playing good, steady ball where the Yankees are still sputtering. Still. And the thing is, the Tampa Bay Rays are the best team at home in Major League Baseball. 33 wins against 14 losses. Boy, that is a tough place to play. And they're even playing above 500 against the teams that are above 500. But the Yankees are in second. The Blue Jays are a distant third. They sit 11 games back and 2.5 out of wild card spot, along with the Red Sox after an unlikely sweep in Chicago. The Red Sox are still in the discussion, which really muddies the water with the whole trade deadline thing. We'll get to that in a minute. And they are 11 back, same as the Blue Jays. And the Red Sox are still an abysmal team at home. They are, as a matter of fact, 17-27. They are the worst team in the American League at home. And frankly, they're the worst team at home in all of Major League Baseball, which makes absolutely no sense. And they're 5 games above 500 on the road. So I guess if they played all of their games, I'm talking about the remaining games, all on the road, maybe they could defer and find out just how good they really are on the road. You never know, folks. That's all the for them. But now, just because they sit 11 back and 2.5 out doesn't mean that the Red Sox won't be buyers. Everybody's saying, well, they're going to be sellers. Well, we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. The Orioles are in last place, just an incredible mystery. What's interesting is you look at the Orioles at 43-51, 8 games under. And they're the ones that made some big deals along with who? Who else did? Oh, that's right, the New York Metropolitans. And who else? The Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto spends nearly $300 million in the offseason. They sit 11 games behind Tampa. And then the Orioles spend an enormous amount of money, even the acquisition of Pete Alonso and other pieces. And they sit only a game and a half behind Toronto. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays spend, I don't know, maybe $20 million in the offseason at the most, something like that. And where are they? They're sitting atop the American League East. I mean, it is just really unusual to see that. But then again, the Rays are one of the best teams at developing young talent, just like the Milwaukee Brewers. But there it is. It's the Tampa Bay Rays on top. Over the American League Central, still a tight race percentage points. The Chicago White Sox sit ahead of Cleveland, and they have 47 wins against 45 losses. They're 4-6 in their last 10, just like Cleveland. They're 48-46. Both teams are two games above 500. But the White Sox are literally percentage points ahead of Cleveland, only because they lost one less game. So both teams, again, they are 4-6 in their last 10. The White Sox are actually a plus 13 in the division in their differential. And the only other team that's a plus in the division is the Detroit Tigers that sit 4.5 behind. And what's interesting is this division is really tightening up. So the White Sox are essentially, they're doing the exact opposite of what they do at home on the road. Cleveland is playing very consistent ball. They are 2 games over at home and 500 on the road. They look better. And both teams are below 500 against teams that are winning teams. Now, the Minnesota Twins have really been playing good ball lately, and the Twins only sit 2 games behind first place. That's right, 2 games behind first place. They just took 2 out of 3 from Cleveland. And then there's the Detroit Tigers. They've won 8 out of their last 10, the last 5 in a row. They're not out of it yet, folks. They sit 4.5 back in their very winnable American League Central Division. The only team that's out of it really is, I would say, the Kansas City Royals are out. They're 10 games back, but they're 9 back of the last wild card spot. And so the Royals are just, they're a bad team. They're the worst team in the American League. They've given up, well, actually, they've given up the second. Here's an oddity. They've actually given up 75 more than they've scored. And the only other team in the American League that's done worse than them are the Athletics, who sit 6 games back of first place in the American League West. They've given up 84 more than they've actually scored. So let's go over to the American League West and look at, oh, that's right, it's the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are now in first place because Seattle is just not doing what Seattle did last year. And remember, they're missing Eugenio Suarez. He went back to Cincinnati, so they lost somebody there to protect Cal Raleigh. Remember, Cal Raleigh was injured for a better part of the season so far, and Raleigh is just finding his bearings. But if you look at the Seattle squad themselves, they're the only team that sit above break even on the differential. They're a plus 20. Everybody else in the division is under. They've given up more runs than they've scored. But Seattle's playing 500 ball. I mean, they're not setting the world afire. And guess what? They have a date at Tampa this weekend. That's right. So that doesn't look very good for them. But the Rangers sit a half a game ahead of Seattle and 2 games ahead of Houston. And now Houston is playing who? The Texas Rangers. There's a battle for first place going on there. The Athletics travel to Chicago to play a very, very tough upstart White Sox team. And let's face it, the Athletics are 1-9 in their last 10. They've lost their last 6 games. This looks like easy pickings for the White Sox. And honestly, if you look at what they've got coming up, Cleveland, who sits just percentage points behind the White Sox, they travel to Miami, a very, very good Miami squad. I mean, folks, if you haven't been watching baseball, you're missing out on a couple of great stories. The White Sox are a great story. The Miami Marlins are a great story as well. And I'll also argue, of course, that the Tampa Bay Rays are a great story. And then you have the rebuilding on the fly of the Houston Astros, which I'm not sure who would have ever thought that. But the one thing that we knew for sure was that the Angels were going to be where? Exactly where they've resided for quite some time. And that would be in the cellar in the American League West. And I think that's largely due to Artie Moreno, the owner, saying, you know what, we're not going to spend money on baseball. We're going to spend money on other stuff. And meanwhile, the casualties pile up. And now you've got a team that is desperate to make deals because why? They're trying to shed whatever little payroll they have in the first place. And they're trying to stockpile some talent. But guess what? The Angels are a bad, bad team. You can't blame the recently fired Perry Manassian. You have to blame the ownership because he says, go ahead, go dumpster diving and go find some players. But the Angels are in last place for a very good reason. They're 20 games under 500. And that's exactly where they belong. They are the worst team in the American League as it stands. And the best team in the American League as it stands right now are the Tampa Bay Rays. So there's your night and day comparison. When you look at them, these are two teams that literally are going in opposite directions. And for all the reasons that we think of, player development, and it's not so much spending. Spending is one thing, but player development is a really big deal. But the Angels refuse, seemingly, to spend money. And Artie's got all kinds of money, as I understand it. But then again, it's not my money, so what do I care? But I'll tell you who's not spending a bunch of money is the White Sox. And guess what? They stand in first place today. And they will be in first place probably at the All-Star break as well. We're going to be back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. We're going to take a look at the National League in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere, folks.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Ignite. We're ready for the fight. Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought by your friends at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Atlanta, waking up with us, WDJY 99.1 FM, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. Thanks for joining us there, right down the road, Columbus, Georgia, all the way to Montgomery, Alabama, with that antenna right there in Auburn. WAUD, our friends over there in Auburn, War Eagle, and that is home of the Atlanta Braves. Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Thanks for joining us at the Sports Circus. Of course, up and down the Midwest, out to our friends driving along Interstate 15 between sunny Southern California and right here in Las Vegas through the Mojave Desert, listening in on 94.9 FM and 96.9 FM, and that's KNAC, Pure Rock. Thanks for joining us there on legendary KNAC. And our friends in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500, KHKA, that is home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide, plus all of our other independents from Alaska to Miami to Maine to San Diego, at all points in between, even those listening overseas. Thanks for joining us. Shoot, we have audiences. Let's see, we have radio audiences, I believe, in the UK. Yeah, we have them in England, we have them in Ireland, and I want to believe we also have them in Italy. I just don't know the call letters or whatnot. But nonetheless, folks, we're everywhere. And this is a terrestrial radio and television show. So it's linear television, terrestrial, and digital television, as well as terrestrial radio. So we don't do a podcast, folks. There are 3 million plus podcasts sitting out there. You can find our recorded shows on those platforms. That's where we store those shows. It saves us server space, and let's face it, frankly, it's a little bit cheaper, but we have to follow the FCC rules and regulations. We take hard breaks, can't see any of the bad words, and the delivery is usually pretty smooth, unlike the podcasting world out there where anybody can have a show. But guess what? Good luck distributing it. We distribute to, I believe it's 219 stations have access to our show across America. That's pretty darn good. And of course, we start out at zero like everybody else. But we've been doing this for over a decade. Actually, I've been on the air for a dozen years now. And it's fun. I'm having fun with it. And as a former ball player, I have a little bit different point of view from on the field, in the dugout, in the clubhouse, versus those non-athletes that have never put on a jock strap in their life. And it's hard for them to articulate certain ongoings on a baseball field or even other sports as well. So I tell you all of this because if you decide to listen to a show, you've got to decide why you're listening outside of you're being entertained, but it's the knowledge base. That's really what we're after here. So I'll tell you all about these baseball standings and so forth and who's doing what and why they're doing whatever, but I know the players, who's doing what and why they're doing what they're doing. There's the difference, because anybody could just read stats. But if you don't know the game, it's awfully hard to decipher why this is happening and why that's happening, why this owner is making blunders with his management team. And I use the Angels as the perfect example, knowing what's going on with the public and with the public sentiment with the Angels, and knowing what's happening essentially behind the scenes. And it's an embarrassment to Major League Baseball that Artie Moreno is still an owner of the Angels. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but frankly, that's not my business. But I will tell you, there's a very good reason why those guys are in last place. All right, we're going to go over to the National League real quick. Take a look at the Atlanta Braves, still hanging around the top spot in the National League East. And they haven't played very well lately. They're a plus 95, though, folks. They're a plus 95, which means, look, they've scored 95 more than they've given up. But more importantly, the Braves are a very good team at home, and they're a very good team on the road. And that's the one thing that these National League teams all have in common. They're very good at home and on the road. Unlike in the American League, well, let's face it, these teams in the American League are very beatable, especially when it comes to them playing on the road. But the National League team's a very different animal here. So the senior circuit has the Braves sitting 54-38, a very good squad, although they've only played 500 ball in their last 10, just like second place Philadelphia. It's the same thing. They're still sitting 3 games ahead of them. And Philadelphia is still a -9. They've given up 9 more than they've scored, whereas Atlanta has scored 95 more than they've given up. And so if you're forward looking, Philadelphia goes to Detroit. And Detroit's playing pretty darn good ball lately. And Atlanta goes to St. Louis. Well, in St. Louis, they're not playing very well right now. But Miami sits tied with Philadelphia. There's one of the great stories in Major League Baseball, as I mentioned. They're tied with Philadelphia. They've won 8 out of their last 10, their last 6 in a row. They're a plus 31. And guess what? This is a good squad. And they get to host Cleveland. And so Miami could do Chicago a really big favor by winning at least 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, because the White Sox have a doormat in the Athletics, who have lost 9 of their last 10 at home. And guess what? Minnesota, who sits just a couple of games behind the White Sox, they have to travel nowhere. They get to host Anaheim. And the one thing I will say about Anaheim is they actually, despite their record, for whatever it is, they show up on the road in the American League, East and Central. They don't do very well in their own division, but for whatever reason, Anaheim plays really well against the East and the Central on the road. And so if you look at the way things are shaken out here, Miami is hosting Cleveland. Well, guess what? Miami's going to have their hands full. But now Washington, they're also above 500. They're a couple of games over 500. They sit 7 back of Atlanta, but they're certainly not out of it. Miami's 3 back along with Philly. But Washington is playing really good ball, and they are getting a lot of productivity from the heart of their lineup. Those guys are no joke. They can pitch the ball, and man, they can knock the cover off the ball too. Those guys are good. Watch out for the Nationals. They're another one of the great stories in baseball this year. It's the White Sox, the Marlins, and the Nationals. Those are the 3 big surprise teams. And I would actually even throw the St. Louis Cardinals in there too. Nobody expected the Cardinals to do anything but come in last place. We're going to get to them in a second. The New York Mets, with all their big spending, they sit 15 games back. And the New York Mets should be sellers. They should be selling off a lot of their assets. And it's not that Cohen needs the money. It's just that they could stockpile some draft picks, which they need to build from within. They've got a couple of good guys that are young and they're playing very well, but the Mets really need to reload. And I think they need to reload from the system and not through free agency. Over in the National League Central, it is the Milwaukee Brewers showing the way, 7 games above the Cubs. And the Cubs are playing pretty good ball. Pete Crow Armstrong right now is showing that he is one of the best players in Major League Baseball. He got off to a really slow start, but he is on an absolute tear. And he was the player of the month in Major League Baseball last month, and he might even win it again this month. It's unbelievable. But the Brewers are just playing solid ball. They have scored 137 more than they've actually given up. I mean, that in itself, I got to tell you, folks, that deserves an astounding round of applause. We're going to let that one go. So, what's interesting is if you look at the record for the Brewers. And then there's this expected one-loss record based on the runs scored and runs allowed. The Brewers are at 59-34, and their expected one loss, given their differential, is 60-33. That's right, 60-33. So you ask, well, does it make sense that they are where they are? Yes, it does. They really are that good. And now the Cubs are playing really good ball too. They still sit 7 back, and they too have won their last 7 out of 10. But the difference is the Brewers are really good on the road, and they are 31-18 against teams that are above 500. And the road gets a little easier for them because they're traveling to Pittsburgh, and that's really not a tough place to play baseball for the Milwaukee Brewers in the grand scheme of things. But the Cardinals sit 4 games over 500, 10.5 back, 3 back of the wild card. And I'll tell you what, folks, when we come back from break, I want to dig a little bit more into the National League Central because the Cardinals are a very good squad, and they too are good on the road, and they're pretty good at home. They're just 1 click below 500 at home, but they're playing really, really good ball. Don't go anywhere. Back here with the National League Central in just a few minutes on the Circus.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTV studio, AAMP Television. This segment is brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, Libsyn, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, check out the partners page, lots of great partners. And check out one of our favorites food-wise, and that's Al's No. 1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Al's No. 1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com, and read all about the creation of that incredible Italian beef sandwich about 120 years ago. They are the founders. They are the creators. They've been in business, opened their first store back in 1938, years after they created it. Gotta tell you, folks, it's the best in the business. Blows away that remarkably mediocre Philly cheesesteak sandwich, whatever. And of course, if you can't make it over there, again, for some great food, they can FedEx it to you. Go to alsbeef.com and pick up your to-go order. Everything is fresh. Nothing is frozen. And again, those are our friends. We don't get anything for saying this. Maybe an occasional order of fries or something. But I got to tell you, folks, great food, great people. Check them out. Al's No. 1 Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy, or alsbeef.com. All right, National Report for them. All right, welcome back to everybody. Radio, TV, you know who you are. Everybody streaming. Also on Chicago Food Favorites. Check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. A fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, restaurants, recipes. ChicagoFoodFavorites.com. That's not ChicagoFoodFavorites.com. It's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. That's right, folks. Everything is live here. That's right. You can laugh at me. You can laugh with me. It doesn't matter. Anyway, all right, back with the National League Central. Talking about the Brewers, 7 games ahead of the Cubs. Cubs are 3.5 ahead of the Cardinals. Another one of the good stories in baseball. Nobody expected the Cardinals to be there, just like the Nats, just like the Marlins, just like the White Sox. Nobody expected it. And by the way, right behind them are the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're playing 500 ball, but the Pirates are playing good ball, and they made a couple of good moves. It's just the Cardinals didn't make any moves. Not really. I mean, all they are, they're just rebuilding as well. But the Pirates sit at 500, and they're 5 games back of the last wild card spot. And then there are the abysmal Cincinnati Reds. Just when you thought they were ready to make a move and maybe win 90 games this season, they may even lose 90 games this season. I don't really know. Not really much of a laughing matter, but I guess if you're a fan of any other team in the National League Central, it is a laughing matter. Now, over in the National League West, of course, it's the Dodgers, then everybody else. The Dodgers are just steamrolling everybody. It's ridiculous. They sit 28 games above 500. Mind you, we're only 94 games in. That's right. The first team that's nearest to them, everybody else is below 500. The Arizona Diamondbacks, 14.5 back. The Padres, 14.5 back, same record, 46-47. The San Francisco Giants, an abysmal 39-54. And the Rockies are just 1 game behind them. Remember, the Rockies were the worst team in baseball last season. Well, they are 19 under. Well, guess what? San Francisco is only, 2 games ahead of them in the standings. That's it. But what are the Rockies doing different? The Rockies' talent, the young kids are coming together. And I like the leadership of Rumfeld. I like the leadership of McCarthy. They've got some good players on that team. Even Mickey Moniak has basically been reborn. Remember, Mickey Moniak was released by the Angels, who drafted and developed him. And Moniak is a very good player, very underrated outfielder. But for whatever reason, and I don't even know how or why, apparently there was no room on the roster in Anaheim for Mickey Moniak. And what has he done? He's gone to Colorado. He's revived his career. And frankly, I think they're just letting him do what he does. Whereas in Anaheim, they did not let him be the ball player that he is. And so Colorado's got about 4 or 5 pieces like that. A good shortstop in Tovar. They are playing very, very good ball, despite their record. I mean, look, they're 500 in their last 10 games. But the Rockies are very competitive. And their pitching is not abysmal like like it used to be. But the Rocks are actually a pretty good team. And I would argue in the National League, I think the New York Mets are worse than Colorado. And I would not say the Giants are worse than Colorado, but I would say probably the Mets. And I would think the Reds, I almost think the Rockies are going to end up with a better record than the Reds and the Mets. I mean, that would be hilarious just to imagine. But when you look at the National League West, you say, all right, it's the Dodgers and everybody else. Who's going to sell and who's not going to sell? Nobody else is going to be buying. But it's interesting because we look at some of these trade rumors and whatnot, and the one that really stands out to me is the possibility of Mason Miller making a move. And now Mason would not do it. It would be the Padres. Think about this. Could Mason Miller be dealt off for the second year in a row at the trade deadline? Remember, the Padres traded for Mason Miller last season. That was one of the biggest deals leading up to the 2025 deadline. And the Padres had to give up Leo DeVries, who was their number one draft pick, or better yet, he was their number one prospect in the Padres system and the number 2 overall prospect. Imagine that. So the Padres had to give up Leo DeVries, who is still a developing player for the Athletics right now. I saw him in spring training. The kid's good. In the regular season, he's been good. He might make it up to the big club this season. But the Padres also had to give up 3 other prospects just to land Mason Miller, who is the best in the business, as well as J.P. Sears, starting pitcher. Now, here's the irony of this. 1 year later, could Mason Miller be on the move again? Right? That's the question. Think about it. These guys are a game under 500. They sit. The Padres are 14.5 back of the Dodgers. I don't think they're going to catch the Dodgers. And the Padres sit 5.5 back of the last wild card spot. I mean, that's a heavy dose of reality right there. So you say, well, is it worth considering? Because Mason Miller, would fetch an enormous return. And who needs a closer? I got to tell you, there are a few clubs that need closers. And who are the real suitors? Who are the suitors for Mason Miller? That's what you really got to think about. I mean, look, I would think that the Padres president of baseball operations would probably be capable of getting a couple of top 100 prospects, or even a top 100 and 2 players that are organizationally top 10s or so, or something like that. And there's a few teams that come to mind. For the Mason Miller sweepstakes, this guy is out there. So who do you see? Well, we have the usual suspects. You say, well, maybe the Phillies, their bullpen is not playing so well since, in the last month, we'll just say. And Dave Dombrowski makes big deals for them. You know that. The Cubs are looking for a reliever. Big surprise there. The Cubs need starting pitching as well. The Yankees apparently have the best bullpen, ERA that is, in the majors. And I don't like David Bednar. I think Bednar makes every game too interesting. But how about this? Do you think the Brewers could also use a little bit of reliever? And basically, they already have the best farm system in baseball, headlined by their number 1 prospect, Jesus Mate. Now, would they give up Jesus Mate for Mason Miller? Just like what the Padres did with Leo DeVries. And he is the number 1 overall prospect in Major League Baseball. So essentially, they gave up DeVries to get Miller, but do you think they'll get Mate to get rid of Miller? That's the big question. That seems like a real doable thing. So I think that the White Sox are desperately looking for something in the bullpen. And with their last series against Boston, sure, Aroldis Chapman, he's 38, 39 years of age, but he's still out there doing it. But the way Boston's playing, I don't necessarily believe that they're going to be dealing Sonny Gray off or any of the other pieces, including Aroldis Chapman. So the White Sox are going to have to go looking elsewhere. And maybe San Diego is the place, because the White Sox and the Padres make a lot of deals over the years. Don't think for a second. Remember, Dylan Cease went over there. Gavin Sheets went over there. For a while, they were like the San Diego White Sox. But now Dylan Cease has been since reassigned to Toronto in an enormous transaction. But listen, I wouldn't put it past the White Sox to make a big deal for Mason Miller. Mason Miller goes back to the American League where he did very, very well in a very winnable American League Central. So the White Sox would probably make a deal there, and then they would have to also make a deal for at least one starting pitcher. And that pitcher, in my opinion, would likely be targeted as Freddie Peralta, because Freddie is a strikeout machine and he eats innings. All right, we're going to pick up with this in just a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Circus.
Step right up! The show is about to start! With a heart of fire and a restless heart.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, ball caps, beanie hats, sweatpants, sweat coats, travel mugs, coffee mugs, mouse pads, pillows, all kinds of great items with the clever Sports Circus logo on them. That's the store at thesportscircus.com. Make sure you mention Ringmaster Sal for an extra 10% off your first order. Of course, we'll let that applause stick around for quite some time. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on television, pick your favorite cable provider, hotel TV, as well as everybody streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streamer and on Chicago Food Favorites. Thanks for joining us over there on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. A fun group, talk about your favorite foods, restaurants, recipes, make some friends in all four corners of the earth for all you flat earthers out there. That's right, Chicago Food Favorites. All right, back here with Major League Baseball trade possibilities, and I was talking about the possibility of Mason Miller being dealt off by the Padres after dealing off their number one pick, basically the number one prospect in all of baseball last season. That was Leo DeVries. They dealt him off to the Athletics to get Mason Miller, who is the lights-out closer that came over from the Athletics. But the Padres sit 14.5 back, and likely they're not going to be in the postseason. So where do they deal him? They got to deal him to a team that has a good farm system, good prospects. The Brewers come to mind right away because they have Jesus Mate, who is the number one overall prospect in Major League Baseball. So it's essentially they lost it last year to get Miller, and they could actually get the number one pick or the number one prospect right back, the current one anyway, by dealing Miller off again to the Brewers. Now that may make a little bit of sense. Now the White Sox have loads and loads of draft stock, and you know what else they have? They have the number one pick in Major League Baseball draft as well. And that's something that may make a little bit of sense for the San Diego Padres. And the White Sox and Padres are longtime trade partners. Watch and see if a move isn't made there. So now you look at the balance of the whole trade rumor situation. Look, there's loads of this out there. And you ask, well, what about starting pitching? It seems like a lot of teams need starting pitching. And of course, like the first person that comes to mind, I mean, it's usually the Sandy Alcantara sweepstakes, but guess what? It is the Marlins right now that are in the middle of making a playoff push. I don't think Sandy Alcantara is going to go anywhere. Now, the first person that comes to mind as far as that will get dealt is a good, solid lefty for the Angels. That's Reed Detmers. Like him, been touting him for the last couple of years. This guy is good. He's got good command and control. He's not wild in the strike zone. This guy knows how to induce ground balls as well. Now, we know that the Angels sit 20 games under, and Reed Detmers, let's face it, he's 27, so he's kind of in the middle of his career right now, and he has a very favorable contract. He's only owed $2.6 million in 2026, and he'll be one of those arbitration-eligible players for the next couple seasons. So this is a very good situation for, I think, for Reed Detmers and for the team that could acquire him. And I say that because it would be a very friendly new team contract, if you will. They could basically sign this guy to a long-term deal very, very easily. And look, the Angels are obviously going to have to go into a full rebuild, which they really need to with their new GM. And they really don't have a choice. But Sonny Gray is another guy that comes to mind. Now, the question is, just like I mentioned about with Aroldis Chapman and Sonny Gray in the previous segment, look, the Red Sox don't sit that far back in the grand scheme of things. I mean, they're only a couple, three out from the last wild card spot. And these guys can play defense. They pitch the ball and they can play defense. But what do the Boston Red Sox need? They need hitting in the worst way, but they can throw leather, they can steal bases. They just don't hit for power. They don't hit for average. They've got a couple of guys on that team, in Rafaela, for example, that really can play. But the question is, do the Boston Red Sox go into full sell mode? They'll take back enormous hauls for Rafaela and for Sonny Gray, as well as Aroldis Chapman, maybe one or two other guys too. So Sonny Gray is one of those guys. Look, yeah, everybody knows he's a three-time All-Star, and whatever the case. The guy's good. He is really good. So you ask, why is he potentially available? He may be one of the 3 best arms available leading up to the deadline, but he is going to be a really expensive takedown for someone's budget. $35 million salary in 2026, a huge number. Of course, well, acquiring club will be on the hook for at least half of that because the Red Sox are going to pay some of that. And he also has $30 million club option for next season with a $5 million buyout on top of it. Boy, whoever wrote this guy's contract, this guy is really doing well. But Gray can opt out of the deal to become a free agent as well. And he's 36 and he's still making bank. So Sonny Gray, let's face it, in his career, he's at a 3.26 ERA. That's right. In 6 October starts. Red Sox, again, they're only 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, despite their abysmal 43 and 48 record. So what in the world are the Red Sox going to do about Sonny Gray and the others? I don't really know. And the same situation with Foster Griffith from the Nationals. People say, well, who the hell is that? Well, look, like the Marlins, the Nationals are ahead of schedule contending for a wild card spot in the first year under new president of baseball operations, Paul Tabani. So Washington appears unlikely to trade away any controllable core players such as C.J. Abrams or Garcia or Griffin or Wood. No way. They are in the right situation. Foster Griffin stays home. I don't think they're going to deal him at all. But you know who is going to go is Seth Lugo. Lugo is likely going to go, along with Michael Wacha. These are 2 guys available now. And Seth Lugo, he eats innings. I don't care what his ERA is and all this other stuff, but look, he is owed a lot of money. $20 million this season, plus $20 million next season. I don't think he's worth $20 million. I say let him put him on waivers, let the team cover the expenses, and then let him pass through all other 29 teams. And if he's still there, he's supposed to be there, because then the other team, being the Royals, are going to have to pay a whole bunch of money, and they're going to have that buyout. So that is one thing that could change the deal if Lugo is available. That's one way he's going to be available. So I mean, look at it this way. There is a $17 million club option for 2028 as well, with a $3 million buyout. But the option becomes guaranteed at $20 million if he throws 190 innings in 2027 or 335 innings in 26 and 27. Look, he isn't necessarily an ace of any team. We know that. But Lugo has proven to be a solid mid-rotation guy. He's probably a 3 or a 4 for a contending team, which isn't so bad. But now the late charging Detroit Tigers have a couple of questions on their hands right now, because the best pitcher available, apparently, we'll say a week ago, before they went on a winning streak, they've won, 8 out of their last 10, you'd say, well, where's Tarek Skubal going to end up? Well, he may just end up right there with the Tigers, along with Casey Mize. So Casey Mize is one of those young arms. They say, well, look, he's making $6 million this season and will be a free agent at the end of the season. So if the Tigers decide to sell, they entered Thursday's game just recently, trailing the White Sox by 5.5. So really they're 4.5 back, and we're just 4 games out of the wild card spot. So let's face it, Detroit, who has the most talent in the American League Central, I don't know if they're going to be making any deals in the first place. Or maybe they feel they can make deals with some of their secondary players. Maybe a Carpenter, maybe a Torkelson, those kinds of guys. Maybe they can. I don't know. But the one guy I know that's available that a lot of teams are going to go after is Freddie Peralta. I mean, look, the Mets, they're in a real big tailspin right now. Freddie's only 30. And he's owed the balance of his $8 million salary for the rest of the season, which is negligible in the grand scheme of things. And then he's going to become a free agent. So it seems like Freddie could be a rental. But then again, if they only made $8 million in 2026, well, you could probably sign him for that or less for 27, 28, 29, maybe with a team option beyond that. Now, that may make sense, but this guy, he knows how to eat innings. He is awfully good. And another guy in that same category is Robbie Ray with the Giants. Giants aren't going anywhere. No, Robbie is 34 years of age right now? And some people say, well, he ranks in the bottom 30% of the league in walk percentages and all this other analytical BS. All right. Who cares about that? This guy at 8-6 on a bad team with a 3.45 ERA and 101 plus innings is pretty damn good. That's the lowest ERA since his 2021 AL Cy Young Award. Think about that. And this guy, yeah, he's earning a little bit of money in the final year of his contract, but San Francisco is likely going to be willing to pick up the remainder of his salary because they want draft picks. They want to build a team, and Zach Manasian Jr. needs to do what he can to get the right people in there. And the Giants ownership believes in their GM. So it would seem to me that Robbie Ray is another pitcher, and he's a lefty, just like Reed Detmer's a lefty from Anaheim. You got a couple of good lefties. Oh, that's right. You got another guy by the name of, Tarek Skubal. That guy's also another really good lefty. But you know who else is available real quick? Is Joe Ryan. Ryan's having the best season so far in his career. And he's on a very mediocre team, slightly above 500. But this guy is 6-5 with a 2.85 ERA in his first 19 starts of 2026. That's right. But this guy is good. He's got a $13 million mutual option, $100,000 buyout for next season. That's it. But he'll be arbitration eligible if it is declined by either side. Of course, that is the likely scenario. This guy's 30 years old. He's got a lot of miles left on him. And let's face it, he is due an enormous raise next season. So it may make sense for the Minnesota Twins to get rid of Joe Ryan and take back a big haul from another squad because the Twins are not known as a big salary team in the first place. But they won't deal him in the division. So Cleveland, Chicago, and Detroit, you could basically forget getting Joe Ryan. So he may end up with the Chicago Cubs. That's how I see that one. And guess what, folks? We're out of time talking about the trade deadline and moves. But remember, the White Sox have the #1 pick overall, and that is going to lead to some real chaos in the trade world. Watch and see. Back here in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone. Show me the money!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Why isn't this an awkward moment? Shut up and start talking.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.